What's your best story of military logic defying common sense? I was stationed at a base where our commanding officer decided we had a morale problem. His solution? Mandatory fun. Every Friday at 3 p.m., the entire battalion had to participate in team building exercises. Not optional. Missing mandatory fun resulted in extra duty on weekends. First week was Trust Falls. Picture 800 combat-trained soldiers standing in a field, taking turns falling backwards while their battle buddy catches them. Grown men who'd survived multiple deployments, pretending to trust each other with elaborate choreographed falling. Week 2 brought relay races. Full battle rattle, carrying dummy ammunition through an obstacle course designed by someone who clearly never wore body armor. The finish line was a giant banner reading, "Fun is mandatory at Fort Davidson." But the real insanity started with week 3. The colonel decided we needed to reconnect with our inner child. He hired a civilian contractor to teach us arts and crafts. I'm not kidding. We made friendship bracelets with beads, sitting cross-legged in formation while a perky woman named Susan explained color theory and emotional expression through handicrafts. My squad leader, a Afghanistan veteran with 2 purple hearts, raised his hand. "Ma'am, what does this have to do with military readiness?" Susan smiled brightly. "Everything! Creative expression builds unit cohesion." The colonel nodded approvingly. "Outstanding question, Sergeant. Making bracelets teaches attention to detail and patience under pressure." So there we were, Delta Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Infantry Regiment, learning to braid friendship bracelets while our equipment gathered dust in the armory. Week 4 was interpretive dance. I wish I was making this up. We had to express our feelings about deployment through movement. No talking aloud, just pure emotional communication through the body. The sight of a master sergeant performing what he called the dance of missing my wife while 200 soldiers watched in horrified silence will haunt me forever. The man had earned a Bronze Star in Iraq. Now he was pirouetting in ACUs. Things escalated when the colonel decided our mandatory fun needed themes. Week 5 was Superhero Friday. We had to create costumes using only military equipment and explain how our chosen superhero related to Army values. Private Jackson showed up as Captain Budget Cut, wearing a cape made from a poncho liner and a helmet covered in fake IOUs. His superpower was making essential equipment disappear without explanation. The colonel was not amused. Week 6 brought the final straw. The theme was express your feelings through interpretive sculpture. We were given Play-Doh and told to create art representing our emotional journey in the military. Sergeant Miller, a combat engineer with 3 tours, sculpted what he called the futility of military logic. It was a perfect replica of a soldier banging his head against a wall. When asked to explain his artistic vision, Miller stood up and said, "Sir, this represents every moment I've spent in mandatory fun instead of training my soldiers for combat." The colonel's face turned red. "That's insubordination, Sergeant," Miller calmly replied. "No, sir, it's interpretive sculpture. You said express our feelings. This is mine." The room went dead silent. 800 soldiers holding Play-Doh, waiting to see if Miller would get court-martialed for artistic expression. Instead, something unexpected happened. The battalion's senior enlisted advisor, a crusty old sergeant major with 25 years in, started laughing. Not a chuckle. Full belly laughs that echoed through the entire formation. "Sir," he wheezed between laughs, "with all due respect, this is the dumbest thing I've seen in 2.5 decades of service. We've got soldiers who need weapons training, medical certification, and physical fitness improvement, and we're sitting here playing with modeling clay." The colonel looked around the room, 800 soldiers nodding in agreement. His mandatory fun had created perfect unit cohesion. Everyone was united in thinking it was ridiculous. Mandatory fun ended that day, never mentioned again. The colonel got transferred 2 months later to a desk job at the Pentagon. Miller's sculpture got displayed in the company office as a reminder that sometimes the most honest communication comes through the most absurd channels. We went back to real training. Morale actually improved once we stopped being forced to have fun and started doing our actual jobs. The irony? The mandatory fun did build unit cohesion, just not the way the colonel intended. Nothing brings soldiers together like shared suffering through bureaucratic stupidity.